I've been playing RuneScape since 2006, either in its original form, its pre-evolution of combat form, its RuneScape 3 form, very briefly, or right now, old school RuneScape, the legacy version of the server. For those who aren't aware, it's an MMO that has lasted a ridiculously long time. It's over 20 years old now, and there's two versions, a legacy server based on the 2007 version and the more modern game RuneScape, which is still commonly called RuneScape 3. Until the day I die, I will never stop playing this game as long as there are servers up. And even if there aren't servers up, there will just eventually be private servers. I'm pretty sure it's about as immortal as a video game can be. It's really hard for me to foresee a situation where old school RuneScape completely dies as long as the internet and technology exist. So why is that? What is it about this game that is so niche that not a lot of people have heard of, but that is just so ridiculously addicting to the people who play it? Because even though I'm not playing right now because of all the writing that I'm doing, I know I'll come back eventually. Because we have a saying in the community, you don't quit, you just take extended breaks. I'll try to go through the appeal of each one. And now this video is going to focus on old school RuneScape. I'm not one of these people who despises RuneScape 3. I get why people enjoy it. But in this video, I'm just going to be focusing on about what I like about the game. It's difficult. A lot of video games today, they're either easy or they're only difficult if you, because of microtransactions. You can use microtransactions to bypass the difficulty. Really embarrassing, egregious examples of this, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or the pre-buff Battlefront 2, which, by the way, turned out to be a pretty decent game after they got rid of the MTX, but I digress. They're just not, they don't provide that same grind, and that's one of the reasons that so many people were demanding World of Warcraft Classic back. Now, with old school RuneScape, there is one microtransaction called bonds, which you can, buy from the main server and then sell to other players, but you can't get other items with them. You can only get gold, and it's pretty easy to get money-making activities that are far more profitable than bonds. So it's a microtransaction, but it's fairly unobtrusive, and it doesn't affect the gameplay for the most part. And that is one of the reasons that people really love it. Another reason, obviously, is nostalgia. Now, it's not entirely nostalgia, because the first year of the game's existence, there weren't many updates, and gradually interest was lost in it. It was quickly realized by both the players and the development team that there needed to be new updates to bring the game back to life, and thus came first God Wars Dungeon and then Nightmare Zone, or I might have the order mixed around. But it's still very much recognizable. A person from 2006 who logged on to old school RuneScape might notice some small cosmetic changes, and it might seem a little bit strange to them, but they would still recognize it as old school RuneScape immediately. And that, I think, is important. It's really rare to have a video game that's continuously preserved as a time capsule over 15-odd years. And I think it's important also just because it's really valuable as a piece of gaming heritage. That's another reason that people like it, because it's so unique. There really isn't another game out there like old school RuneScape, a game that combines grinding with the extremely immersive quests that they have, with all these niche communities devoted to finding new ways to exploit and break the game. People like Swampletics who just come out with these brilliant ideas like the Mauritania Ultimate Iron Man. It's a game that's just so unique, and also that really lends itself to innovation. There's no one way to play, and you could probably play for a whole lifetime and never run out of things to do. And that brings me to the final reason. You can never do everything in old school RuneScape. Literally never. There's a collection log that literally is generally considered impossible for anyone to complete in a single lifetime. That's kind of how it is. And that sort of endless grind, this idea of you can always make achievements, but there'll always be something more to go for, and you'll never be able to buy it with money. That is really, really appealing to a lot of people in this day and age. It's a sort of game that doesn't hold your hand and very much kicks you while you're down. Now, they are trying to correct that some back by making the new game a bit more open to new players. I'm not sure how I feel about Adventure Pass, but it's neither here nor there. Point is, it's an incredibly unique experience, helped up by both nostalgia and just the gameplay loop that, as far as I know, has never been replicated anywhere else. So if you're wondering why a lot of us are so fanatically devoted to it, that's why. And like I said, even though I'm not playing it right now, I'll know I'll come back eventually. Once the game gets its claws stuck into you, you never escape. Ever.